Am I the astronaut for ending a family naming tradition by not giving my son my late nephew's name as his middle name, even though my sister has said she wants me to? It's a family naming tradition. Got it. My family has always had this tradition where the first child born after the loss of someone in the family gets the late family member's name as their middle name. My sister and I both have those middle names. Hers is Patricia after a cousin of our mom's, and mine is Denise after my dad's aunt. Right, I remembered to say aunt this time, not letting my Midwest show. It's an aunt. Almost a year ago, my sister lost her 2-day-old son, Philip. He was the last family member we lost, and it was a huge, earth-shattering blow for our family. I found out I was pregnant a few months ago. I waited a while to tell everybody, and my sister was the first person we told privately. When I told her, she said it would be nice to have some positive news to focus on, and she wanted me to continue the tradition our family keeps and give my baby, if a boy, the middle name Philip. She was so happy about the idea. It surprised me a lot. I would have figured she would not be okay with it, but she wanted it. The problem is my husband and I do not want to continue with the tradition. We do not want to give our son the middle name Philip. The name isn't one either of us likes or would ever pick ourselves. We have not announced the sex of our baby yet, but my husband and I both know that we are expecting a boy. My family were saying how amazing it will be if my baby is a boy and Philip's name can be carried on. I suggested they wait until we announce the sex and the name before jumping to conclusion. They asked why, and I said we're thinking of not continuing with the tradition. My family, and by that I mean my parents mostly, were really upset. My sister was the worst though. She asked why I wouldn't want to honor Philip and why it was him the tradition was getting broken on. She asked if I saw him as meaning so little, and I said no, of course not. Then she asked if it was his name and if we didn't like it. She said she really hoped it wasn't that. We didn't feel like the tradition was something we wanted to continue. The decision has brought up a lot of bad feelings, and my sister is especially angry and thinks I'm being insensitive and showing how little I care for my nephew. I feel terrible. She's so angry at me, and my parents are unhappy as well. My husband hates them for putting this pressure on us. He said we should be allowed to name our son what we want, and we should not be obligated to use a certain name. I never wanted to be an asshole, but my family believes that I am. Am I the astronaut? I don't think most assholes want to be assholes. I think they just are. This is tough, though. This is tough, Kadin Thunder. You picked a doozy to give feedback to. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, to help us give feedback on the story, Kadin Thunder. Look at that.
What's up, Thunderkin? Oh, that was a doozy. That was I'm glad I didn't choose to read that one. Now I just have to give feedback on it. Yeah, this is tough because I feel like I can see the point of view of both parties. It's a family tradition that they've carried on for a while, and it's something that they've never brought up the idea of even not continuing before until this point in time, which I can see why the aunt would be upset because OP and they didn't ask for the tradition. I don't think that they are asking aunts for not wanting to carry the tradition on. But at the same time, I can also see why the aunt would be or not the aunt. Who is it? Who is it that? Her sister. Okay. Her sister. I can see why her sister would be upset because for one, she's grieving right now. So she's obviously she's going through a lot. She lost her 2-day-old child, and that's something that's absolutely awful. And you're going to have negative feelings about things surrounding that. And I can see why she'd want to have their baby have the middle name as Philip. I don't know. Everybody sucks here, but also nobody sucks here. I don't think that the OP couple, I don't think they deserve to be put on the astronaut scale because I don't think what they did is wrong. Maybe they could have done it a little differently, but honestly, I think the way they did it is perfectly acceptable, and I think there's just no way to get through that without having some pain, you know? Oops, scoop, ski, potato, I don't know.
What? Potato?
Scoop, ski, potato, Jogato, Impractical Jokers.
How often is someone's middle name going to be seen or used? It's not going to be something that you use all the time. However, I think at this point, the damage is largely done. The fact that you vocalized your opposition is what has caused this drama, and that is probably 80% of the damage. At this point, you have to look at, are we going to absorb the 20% remaining damage by sticking to our guns here and saying, yeah, we're not going to use it, and they're already pissed. You're not going to make them pissed. Yeah. They're already there. They'll just hold on to it longer. If you come here now and say, here's a compromise, we'll give him 2 middle names, or if you end up caving, you've already created 80% of that damage. It's just going to be held. So I think you have to decide what you want. And then try to find some kind of compromise. But yeah, it's your choice. It is 100% your choice. I don't think for me the question is there. I think the question for me is, how much do you value the relationships of your family?
If it was me, I would just make it the middle name, but that's just me because I feel like the middle name isn't the end all be all. Because I have a middle name. Not a lot of people know it.
Yeah. There's a lot of comments here that it's not fair to put that pressure on them. I agree. And again, it's her choice not to follow that. Yeah. It's not fair. It's a structure that they knew about ahead of time. And for me, it's not about the fairness of wanting to use this name or the fairness of this tradition that they have, which is an odd tradition, but families have odd tradition. For me, it is, you've already created damage. How much more do you want to create? If you want to end the pain and maintain these relationships, then finding a compromise would be a solution path. You have to define what you want and then stick to your guns on it. Define what you want and follow the path that leads to that, right? Depending on how much you value these relationships, if you end up sticking to your guns and saying, no, we're not doing it, this is unfair, this is bullshit, we need to end this tradition, just expect to have some backlash for an extended period of time.
I think if you do that, though, and if you contest it in that way, I think you have to be very gentle with how you go about that, because you also have to remember on the other side of things, the sister also just lost her child. That's something that would suck. Sure. And if it was the other way around and they had lost their child, it's not necessarily right to expect them to use that middle name, but you just have to be very gentle about explaining why you use it. And I'm sure maybe there's another way that they can honor Philip without making it the name, because at the end of the day, it is their child, not, it's an actual child and not just a symbol for her child that she lost.
Right. It's beyond a tradition. There's gonna be more feelings hurt for an extended period of time, no matter what. You just have to decide what's really important to you.